Well, a very good evening to you, race fans, and welcome to Mount Panorama, Bathurst, where the stage is set for the grand finale of the Tasman Racing League Road Series pre-season. We are here after a season of hard-fought racing, and it all comes down to this tonight. The championship will be decided right here on the most famous mountain in all of racing. We'll take a look at the championship standings shortly, but I can assure you we're in for some very, very close racing this evening. To all of you joining us for the first time, welcome to Simple Racing Broadcast. My name is Jared Cole, and I have the pleasure of taking you through tonight's GT3 racing event here with Tasman Racing League. Bathurst itself, of course, needs no introduction. This mountain always delivers drama. The walls are close, the straights are long, and the race can change in an instant, where one mistake could see a championship dream come undone tonight. So buckle up, make sure you've got yourself your favourite drink as we get ready to go racing here tonight. The temperature absolutely beautiful for a 25 lap feature race here to finish off the pre-season here of the TRL Road Series. Drivers will be starting lone qualifying in just about 5 minutes time. That's a little way to go yet as they get in the last bits of practice before we do head out onto the mountain to close out this pre-season competition. Mount Panorama, of course, in Bathurst in Australia. 6.14 kilometres the track length. Temperature of the track surface at the moment 26 degrees, but we'll take an eye on that throughout the race, as I'm sure that will start to cool down just a little. The lap times that you'll be seeing here tonight just a little bit quicker than perhaps the Gen 3 supercars you might be used to seeing around Mount Panorama. Times as low as the 2-minute 2, 2-minute 3 second mark have been coming through in practice sessions throughout the week, and so expecting some very, very competitive racing from the 26 drivers that have entered so far for tonight's event. Lone qualifying, of course, does mean they'll have the track to themselves, and Bathurst is one of the few tracks on the iRacing calendar where I think I would have to agree that lone qualifying makes more sense. It is certainly one of the few tracks in the world where there is simply no room for drivers to go side by side and to actually make room in an open qualifying session. Of course, you don't have that kind of luxury in the real world. But one of the joys of sim racing is, of course, the fact that you can make the absolute most of the slightly less than realistic environment and get around all on your own and set the fastest lap that you possibly can. Before we do take a look at the championship standings and get to know some of the drivers here with Tasman Racing League, let's take a look for those who have somehow gone their entire lives without seeing Mount Panorama, the Bathurst track. Let's take a look at what's in store for the drivers tonight. The control line, of course, for the start of lap timing is actually towards the back of the grid, as you'll see shortly as we take a look at Sector 1, and it all starts with the very appropriately named Turn 1. It is, of course, Hell Corner, where races come undone at Turn 1, Lap 1 all the time. Then into Mountain Straight as I head towards Griffin's Bend, and as you come down Mountain Straight as a driver, Mount Panorama's sign looks at you and mocks you almost, as you begin to prepare yourself for what is a very, very challenging stretch of track indeed. Through Griffin's Bend, it's fast, it's uphill, and then into the left-hander that marks the start of the cutting before the tight fourth turn brings you back and starting your travel across the top of Mount Panorama, past Reed Park and Sulman Park as you go through corners 6, 7, 8 and 9. Then McPhillamy Park on the right, where the crowds cheer you on as you make your way across Brock Skyline before you start the descent through Turn 11, down into the S's in 12 and 13, and then, of course, the Dipper, Turn 14, one of the most frightening sections of track that I think anyone would have the displeasure, perhaps, of driving. It's a really, really tough one, and the consequences for getting that one wrong can often bring an entire race to a halt. You then continue down the hill, a couple of gentle back and forth through a fairly steep downhill section before you hit Forest Elbow, where the exit is absolutely critical as you make your way down onto the famous Conrod Straight, where tonight the drivers will hit speeds of somewhere around 260, almost 270 kilometers an hour before they jump hard on the brakes into the chase, into Turn 21, trying to pull the car up down to, look, only about 100, 130 Ks maybe, depending on who's around you at the time. Turn 22 brings you back onto the view down towards the final corner, Murray's Corner, Turn 23, where the drivers need to be very, very careful of that inside curb. It is a huge one, and if you do clip it, expect yourself to get thrown sideways and ruin what will otherwise be, I'm sure, a pretty decent lap all around. That is Mount Panorama. That's Bathurst for the uninitiated. And geez, what a track it is. Certainly plenty of people out there who do it a lot more justice than I think I can. If you haven't already done so, do yourself a favour and check out the track walkthrough that's done by Channel 10 Motorsport. Just a phenomenal job of showing just how difficult this track really is to get around. And of course, the drivers tonight, doing it in GT3 cars, they are quick, they've got plenty of downforce, but this road surface is certainly not the perfect smooth surface that they might be used to at other locations. This is one that will throw the cars around, and you have to absolutely be on your game at all times if you expect to make it out the other end in one piece. We're seeing some times coming through. Practice about to come to an end before qualifying gets underway, and certainly only one driver at this stage making it into the 2 minute and 2 range. That is Matthew Searle, of course, who has set the fastest time in practice. The question will be whether he can back it up in qualifying, and we will have the answer to that in just about 5 or 6 minutes time. Not long at all to get a couple of laps of qualifying done here at Bathurst, but of course the outlap is all important. Got to get the temperature into the tyres, and of course surviving the outlap on cold tyres has been made much more difficult in this most recent season of iRacing, with of course the new tyre model finally making its way to GT3s. And I can tell you, if you haven't experienced it yet, the first lap out of pits on cold tyres in a GT3 car it's an experience. That's the best way I can put it. Give us a shout in the chat if you're hanging around. Lovely to have you with me. You are, of course, stuck with only my voice in the booth tonight, so please come and keep me company. Always appreciate it. Let's take ourselves a bit of a look at what's still ahead for tonight's 25-lap race, and it will decide the championship, no doubt. The points as we come in towards the start of this race: Matthew Searle leads on 394 points ahead of Brian Roy from AusNZ Sim Racing on 370. Then Nicholas Heath on 321. A maximum of 100 points on offer for the winner tonight. But of course, doesn't mean that Matthew Searle has this sewn up. He is on track though with a fantastic practice time. Chris Murray in fourth, just outside the podium places, but hot on his heels, Jeremy Newton and Tim Simon, both just over 300 points themselves, and then the gaps start to open up a little. Chris Fitzgerald and Tim Nash, Malcolm Bull and Tim Pattinson round out the top 10, tying it up on 253 points before tonight's race. So it is looking like a pretty quality sort of a race for this evening. Just getting some information coming through from none other than TRL organiser Lucas Blake from Right Rear Racing, sitting in 11th at the moment on 244 points. Another tie with Drew Collins and Josh Hines on 225 points, then 222 points each for Horn and Jenkins in 14th and 15th. Stephen Scully and Aaron Gilbert behind them, with Jordan Nelson, Samuel Meader and Dale Horn rounding out your top 20 after 5 rounds of racing so far in this season. And still plenty to go from here. We will go down to the track in just a moment and check out some of the qualifying action. Do hope you're looking forward to what will no doubt be an exciting bit of racing. A rolling start tonight is my understanding. We'll see that coming around shortly, but let's get on down to the track as we see the first of the drivers about to start their hot lap for this qualifying session. So let's jump on over, and we might just start off with Brian Roy, as he seems to be just about the furthest around the track at present. So he'll be the first to get out there and really set a qualifying time. Now, not a lot of time here at Bathurst. Given that the lap is about 2 minutes long, you really cannot afford a mistake on your outlap or on either of your 2 qualifying laps, because of course 6 minutes in that alone, the need to restart brings another 2 minutes on if you do jump in and need to restart your outlap. And so realistically, you maybe get 1 error on your outlap, but certainly no more than that. If you do make an error on your first qualifying lap or on your second qualifying lap for that matter, you can pretty much expect that will be it for your night. Such is the nature of Bathurst, the amount of time to get around. G'day James, welcome to the chat. Good to have you along with us. And Dead Rebel Gaming, I know that name. It's been a while, mate. Glad to see you here. Thanks so much for the subscription earlier. I appreciate it. It's an outstanding track. It's not my favourite, that's for sure, but it is. I think the magic of Bathurst is really in the history and the stories that surround it just as much as the track itself. You know, this is absolutely the place where Australian racing legends have been made over decades, and I'm sure tonight will be no different. We see Brian Roy going up and over Skyline for the first time, about to go down into the S's, and then look for the hard right, then left down into the dipper. Very, very slow through there, but so easy to come sideways as you unweight the car, and it really does feel like the bottom just falls out from underneath you as you head down that one. Forest Elbow, perfect exit there from Brian Roy as he smashes it on down at Conrod Straight. It's a lot of fun here. You get a moment to just take a breath and reset, which is an interesting thing to contemplate doing at this sort of a pace. But it does give you just a bit of time. G'day Wheeling, how are you? How do you join? Look, very, very easy one. If you just pop in exclamation TRL to the chat, I'm hoping you should get a Discord link that will help you join the Tasman Racing League Discord, and that should get you into the action. So give it a try. If it doesn't work, let me know, and I will do what I can to get that link. Brian Roy sets the first time, and that is a 2:04.275. Not a bad start, but I expect that the time will drop a fair bit from there. I'm expecting to see a 2:03, maybe even a 2:02 at the top of the table. Well, that tells me that perhaps Nightbot not working the way that it should. Bear with me, folks, and I will try and get that. So, oh, look at that, it does work. I stand corrected. Thought I'd set that up for tonight, and congratulations on being the first ones to actually try that out. So, glad it worked. Of course, Dead Rebel, as always, struggling with the Australian accent. That's TRL, not ERL, my friend. But that'll get it sorted. Already we're into the 2:03s as we see Lewis Behaga from Velocity SimLab setting the fastest time on his first lap. And we can see a number of times starting to roll on through. What will be interesting is to see some of the pace on the second lap. You can see Brian Roy has already picked up the fastest second sector and improved on his first sector time. So holding that second place at the moment. Bit slower through Sector 3 though, so that is going to have an impact. I would expect to see a few more purple sectors coming through from some of the drivers yet to set their first times as Drew Collins crosses the line with a 2:05.4. You will see much. Link has expired, haven't slept for 14 hours. Okay, fair enough. I will endeavour to get a link updated for you down below at some point. Unfortunately, that's the most recent that I have for you guys. But if you do drop by the video stream replay a little later on, I will make sure, my promise to you, is that I will get you a fresh link, and it will be put in the video description in the next 24 hours, so you'll be able to come back and jump on that and get involved in TRL. These guys, of course, just starting out as an iRacing league. Brian Roy crosses the line. It looks like he should improve his time here. The only question will be by how much. In the end, a 2:05.1, 2:04 flat, so not quite enough to take top spot, but does get him back into it. A couple of names I'll be interested to see haven't actually managed to set a time, and this is one of the massive challenges, of course, of Bathurst, is it's so easy to end up with an off-track or even just enough of a tap of the wall that your time can actually be completely discarded. Of course, you have to run a clean lap, and it won't count unless you do so. So David Noden, one of the drivers yet to set a lap time, doesn't mean he hasn't made it around, but does mean, of course, that he hasn't actually set a clean time yet. Lucas Blake, the man behind Tasman Racing League, and of course racing with Right Rear Racing here, sets the fastest sector in 1, goes a little bit slower in 5. Can he get himself up from P10 for the start of this race? Looking like a good time. Wait for that one to come through. Unfortunately, it looks like it hasn't actually counted. So I'd say he's picked up an off-track somewhere around there, which is always disappointing. As we see now, Drew Collins from Valhalla Motorsport making his way down to finish his second lap. 2 seconds off the pace at the moment, but has improved in all sectors from his previous time. So this does look promising. Let's see if he can make the jump, and does indeed, up to 13th rather than the previous position. Tim Pattinson on his way just down the hill now, improving on his first time, down in 19th with a 2:06.68, so a bit of work to do there. Lewis Behaga really setting the pace though in qualifying. A 2:03 on cold GT3 tyres is absolutely very impressive. Jeff Price sitting in 10th at the moment. You'll see his Mad Day purple sector in the middle. I don't think it's going to be enough to lift his position as he finishes off his second qualifying lap here. But it will at least count for some bragging rights. Tim Patterson, the only one likely to improve his standing at the moment. He's got a little way to go, but has improved in all the sectors. Let's see how he looks coming down towards that final turn, Murray's Corner. He's looking at a, look, I'm gonna call this as a 203 lap. Would have been nice, but unfortunately just not quick enough. 205 for Tim, and that will just about wrap us up for qualifying here at Bathurst as we get ready to go racing. 25 laps, about 50 minutes of racing on the cards here tonight. No safety car to be concerned with here in TRL at this point. So you can expect that the racing will continue at pretty well full pace regardless of any incidents that may occur. So still plenty of racing to be done regardless of any crashes. Of course, I imagine that being Bathurst, you get an incident in the wrong sort of spot, and it's certainly going to be one that does cause some dramas for all of the drivers. We're just waiting on the last of the drivers to officially tick on in to say they're ready to go. About 30 seconds or so left in the qualifying session. That's certainly not enough to get a time in. Peter Ellenbogen doesn't look to have set a time at all. Neither has Jared Williams from Phantom Sim Sports or Patrick Robinson. So the three of them not managing to set a time will be starting from the back of the grid, if indeed they are starting this race at all. Let me know what your thoughts are, folks. What would you rather see racing around here? Personally, GT3s are always a good bit of fun around Bathurst. I know that the mountain kind of belongs to the V8 supercars, of course, but it's one of those tracks that, honestly, it's so much on the edge in a V8 supercar that I don't know that it's necessarily the best racing to watch. I actually prefer a bit of downforce around here. Let's take a look at the grid and how they'll line up here tonight. Lewis Behaga takes pole alongside Chris Fitzgerald, Nicholas Heath and Brian Roy on the second row. Tim Nash and Matthew Searle just behind them on row 3. Then Chris Murray and Jeremy Newton ahead of Aaron Gilbert and Jeff Price round out your top 10. Malcolm Bull and Lucas Blake just missing out ahead of Tim Pattinson and Drew Collins, and Ben Christian and Stephen Scully in 15th and 16th respectively. Bradley Austin and David Nodem behind them ahead of Kieran Rice and Dale Horn. Then Jordan Nelson and Rob Tilley line up ahead of Zach Vlietstra, and I will apologise now, Zach, if I've mispronounced that one. Peter Ellenbogen, Patrick Robinson and Jared Williams will make up the back of the grid if they do make it to the track, and it does look like everyone starting to set up now. So we will go down to the track and take a bit of a look at what's in store for us here as we get ready to go racing. 25 laps, this final round of the Tasman Racing League Road Series pre-season, and I reckon we're in for something a little bit special tonight. Bathurst always delivers. It's just what it does. As we can see the cars lining up on Conrod Straight as they get ready to go racing. Lewis Behaga on pole as the pace car gets underway. Thankfully not a full formation lap. Not a lot of time for these drivers to get themselves any sort of temp in the tyres. Only a couple of corners really, and we'll be underway. So hang on to your hats, folks. This is where it all starts to happen. It's the drivers trying to hold that formation. Not a lot of time actually to get in there, and you can see up front Fitzgerald Behaga, quite a bit of room behind them. Of course, they'll have control of the field until the green flag as we come across the line in just a moment. Coming down towards Murray's Corner, the safety car executes a beautiful murder of a couple of cones there on the way into what is one of the most